Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the MotUS Edge Podcast, where we talk about leadership, motivation, and all things cheerleading and dance business. I am Stacy Rowe, here with my favorite co-host, Casey Jones, and our guest today is Sean Timmons, our new MotUS Executive Director of Membership. I'm so excited. We're so excited to have you on, Shawn.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on the team.
3. Yeah.
Is it podcast number 3? No way.
I believe it is. Yeah, I got to be a part of the one last year at the Business Expo.
You're right.
On top of the one that I did initially. So yeah, this is number 3. I'm excited to be back, and I'm excited to be back and new with MotUS. So it's really an exciting time.
Yeah. So you're our first. I think you're our first podcaster to have been on 3 times.
Triple threat.
Whoa!
Here.
Right.
Yeah.
First
you're a star.
Man, I know not many people watch. Most people listen, but I'm sitting here looking at you and just thinking what amazing hair you have. For a person without much hair, and I know you're a little bit younger than me, but this dude's got some good hair for for a man who's
wait till you see
20.
this cartoon that's coming out. Wait till you see this cartoon that's coming out, this cartoon version of me that we're introducing with this new coffee talk scenario that we're going to be doing every month with our MotUS members. And this cartoon character has some beautiful hair. That was one of the first things I commented on yesterday. I was like, man, this is good.
He does. His hair is pretty epic. His hair is pretty epic.
One of the things advertising our podcast, and my wife was like, dude, that doesn't look like you. You don't have that much hair. It's one of those cartoon characters.
So apparently the AI likes to generate more hair on the men, I guess. Because,
mine is quite full.
Hey, I'll take it.
It's funny. I feel like I could really use a cup of coffee this morning. I'm not going to lie. And I don't drink coffee anymore. And I didn't really have time to make my tea because I was running late. I could have had like a green tea with a little caffeine kick in it. But my son has been playing soccer every night of the week, it seems like, until like 9:30. We don't get home till 9:30, 10 o'clock. And my bedtime's like 8:30. So I am so tired.
Is it club or is it school soccer?
School soccer. Yes, we are in regional championships at the moment.
Well, I guess it's good that he's playing every night. That means they're winning and moving on.
It is.
Funny you say that about being tired. I go to bed pretty early these days as well. But late nights in the gym, we've had a couple of late night meetings. And had a meeting last night, and actually I did a really good, it was probably one of my best meetings ever because I was so tired that I was actually on point and focused and kept normally I can turn 5 minutes into 55 minutes. And last night I didn't because I was like, man, I'm ready to get in bed.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So Shawn, you're back. You are back with MotUS. Tell us about that. Tell us how you feel in this moment.
It's just such an honor. It's everything that we were doing pre-COVID, on the gym ownership side. We were just about to kind of hit our sailing point with everything that we were doing, that we started in 2017 and we were running through 2020. And so when you guys created MotUS, was it 21, 22 when MotUS?
I think 2020. I think we started working on it in 2021, but we launched it in 2022, I think.
Yeah,
Casey, is that right?
October, kind of soft launch, October.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent 8 or 9 months. We didn't know this was the direction we were going. We were trying to figure out what we want. We knew we wanted to do something to help the gyms, but just trying to figure out what's the best direction to go. So.
Yeah, it's kind of been a passion project for me, since we started that with the other company. I don't know if we say that or whatever, but, since we started that back in 2017, it kind of became a passion project. So when that got shut down during COVID and we all kind of moved in our separate directions and I watched you guys create and start MotUS, I was like, man, what a great thing. I was so glad that you had the ability to start it back over. I was glad that you had the ability to do it with Casey and Cole and really kind of get it to be a thing again. And the whole time I was like, all right, how do I get involved? And that's where we kind of brought Infinity in on the side as one of the first affiliates, getting to go to the business expo and sit there for 2 years and represent Infinity, but get to learn and be part of the education, have these conversations with these gym owners. I was like, man, if an opportunity ever presents itself for me to come and work with these guys on what they're doing there, that is what I would love to do. I really, for me, it's kind of a dream job in the industry. I was fortunate enough to be on the gym side for many, many years, leave the gym side, move over to, the Infinity side, working on what I think is still our industry's best footwear and apparel. And what we were doing on the events, I loved it. So it was a different reach. It was fun. It was, a new challenge, so to speak, in the sport, but we dove right in. We love the event side, but I was like, man, if I could get an opportunity to get back with gym owners and figure out a way to put money back in their pocket. And that was one of the things that we did with our events with Infinity was, we were adamant about rebates for gym owners, winning prize money for gym owners. We always felt like they were trusting us with their customer and we had to deliver for them, right? So if we put on a bad event, if we ran behind, if our scoring wasn't great, that gym owner's customer was then going, why would you have brought us to this event? This was a terrible experience. And now they're going, not only is that gym not going to come back to the event, we worried about that customer not going back to that gym. So I felt like as a servant, of the industry, it was my job to deliver a great product, great scoring, and a great opportunity for gym owners to make money at an event so that their customer had such an exceptional experience that they wanted to come back. And that brought more people, or at least helped with their retention.
Yeah, you mentioned something that's truly important, Shawn, because that's exactly how we think of things at CX Brands. We understand that, okay, this gym owner is going to make the choice. So that they are the liaison for their parents. They're going to make the choice to come to us. And it's so vital that we do a good job and offer a good experience, because that can impact whether their customers come back to their gym the next year. So, that's a big piece. But kind of switching back to the gym side and supporting gyms and different things like that, you certainly do it through competitions. But, you and I were talking before we started this, and the reality is, COVID rocked our world. And then, here we are, and that, I don't know that it's completely behind us, but it's not the topic of the day anymore. So I feel like all of these things that we thought that were going to be changed forever, many of them aren't. And I think the gym business is kind of one of them. So I looked at things during COVID and I was like, man, there'll never be a traditional car lot again. These car lots will never put 600 cars on. No one is ever going to go back to a Goals gym or a Crunch Fitness. That day's done. Everybody's going to have a Peloton and their
I definitely thought virtual workout at home was going to be a thing. Like I was convinced that was going to happen for sure.
Yeah. So, I'm sure on the other hand, we can identify all these things that have changed, but a lot of things we're right back to where they left, and I think that's where
thank goodness.
I think that's where a lot of the gyms have landed. They are now right back to many of the struggles that they had before, and struggling to, make a buck, struggling to, to not only break even, but to be able to put a couple dollars in their pocket. Because we all know that cheerleading can start as passion work. I do not believe that it can stay as passion work, because if I work really hard at something for long enough and I'm just never, like, I can't even pay myself, at some point, you got to close the doors and go do something else.
Well, you look at cheerleading and as blessed as we all are and as grateful as we are for the sport, that number one has brought us all together and really created this community and a place where we get to help develop and finish raising some really awesome young people, right? It's just, there's no other business that your startup is a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot warehouse. As a startup, right? And then you're sitting there in a few years going, man, we've outgrown this space. Now we got to get to 10 to 12,000 square feet. You're going, gosh, that is a healthy rent, And then before you know it, you've outgrown that space. And you're going, man, we can't find anything. We need something with 20,000 plus and no holes, and we got to figure out.
And in,
in
2026, that's more than a healthy rent. It's kind of like an out of control rent.
Huge challenge. I think that's something at our MotUS Business Expo this year. We're bringing in a real estate expert to talk to people and renting versus buying, and because to me, that's one of the biggest challenges in the cheerleading gym business currently. Rents are at the top. The reality is very few things get cheaper. Once you hit a certain rate, it may stop going up for a little while, but I mean, who backs the price off? Very
right.
Well, and that's the thing I think that's been difficult. I mean, I think we feel it. We feel it just as consumers, but then as business owners on top of that too, like the last several years, I mean, everything has gone up. Everything. I mean, from your electricity to your water bill, to your groceries, to your gas, to your car, to your house, to your, to whatever, like it's all going up. I mean, even like my mortgage, obviously hasn't changed, but the additional things I have to pay have all gone up. So it's all, it's all getting more expensive. If you're renting, it's going up. And then the same thing with gym, with gym owners. I mean, all of it, office supplies, toilet paper, it doesn't, and then your employees, their bills are going up, right? So you got to pay them more, and it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And it's, we're at a point where it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm being choked sometimes,
Well, and there's two things and this has hit the gym business, but I'm blessed to be involved in a lot of different things. I've got some different real estate ventures and things like that. And I love that world, but in that world, you're also dealing with, like you said, crazy price increases on property insurance and property taxes, and those are things you don't see coming, and then your local community gives you an assessment of, 3 times what you were a year ago. And your budget's out the window. Those are some things I've seen in some of my businesses of like, goodness gracious, if you didn't have a slush fund to cover those things, and then what do you do to cover them the following year? Because they don't go backwards, No.
It reminds me of National Treasure, the stupid movie. I love that movie. It's one of those movies that I will watch like 500 times with Nicolas Cage. You know which one I'm talking about? Yep. And his buddy, what's his friend's name in the movie? Do either of you guys remember?
I don't.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. 500 times in his
nerdy little friend that goes with him on all of his treasure hunts. Anyway, when they find the treasure at the end of the first one, he goes and buys like a Maserati or something, and he has to. They come and take it because he couldn't pay the taxes on it. That's what that made me think of. A random sidebar, but I just like, it's true though. You don't 100%, 100%.
We talk about all of our podcast. We've talked about different challenges, but like our Marietta location, I mean, we've been in that building for almost 20 years. And when we first moved in there, I was leasing. I own that building now, which is great. But when we first moved in there, I was leasing, triple net lease. You're paying for every single thing. We got annexed by the city. So I'd been there for 3 years. I'm paying Cobb County, the county taxes, because we're an unincorporated Cobb County. And then the city of Marietta comes in and draws a perfect line around our building and our parking lot and like, hey, welcome to the city. That was an extra $20,000 in taxes. And the fire marshal came in and didn't like what we had going on. So we had to spend $20,000 building a set of stairs and adding sprinkler system to a closet and all these different things because cost us $40,000 because of something we did not see coming, and that was
because the city decided they wanted to make a little extra cash off your building.
Correct. Yeah, that's the thing. And what's crazy in that is it's not like the cheaper Cobb County taxes went away. Now you just get to pay both. Unbelievable.
And did you get anything more for that? Anything change? Did you get maybe a little bit more patrol, or did anything change for you, or no?
When I was arguing with the fire marshal one morning. When we were having a spirited debate, I brought that up of what I was getting. And I felt like I got extra harassment due to being invited into the city. not any extra services, because Cobb County offered the same services. They have a police force and a fire department and all of the things, which ironically, I'm dealing with a different venture, some land right behind where we currently are, and it has not been annexed. So the laws today, I could fight that and I would likely win that. However, back then I couldn't even, there was no fighting it at all. It was just, you had to take it. So now the laws basically read like someone cannot come in and annex you unless they offer services that the other
does not.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's a little fun fact for your podcast today.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's so much that people don't know. And obviously, like we talked about, this is a passion sport, right? So every great cheerleader is like, I want to own a gym one day. And every coach is like, I want to own a gym one day, until you start getting those costs of owning a gym. I remember years and years and years ago, I was at World Cup, and I have an aunt who is decently, she's decently wealthy. And she's like, why don't you open up your own gym? I said, and be a competitor against what I've tried to help build for the last 10 years. I said, why would I do that? And I loved, working for Elaine and Joelle, and all that was great. But I was like, why would I want to be a competitor to something that I've worked hard to build as this industry was growing? And why do I want to lose sleep at night over who's paying the electric bill, who's paying the gas bill, who's paying payroll, who's paying payroll taxes, buying new floors? I was like, nope, I'm pretty content with where I'm at. So,
it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
And you talk about, there's so many things you don't know. We talk about this all the time. Most of the things I do know are because I've done it wrong or I learned it the hard way. So
100%, 100%. I say that all the time. And it's hard to try to teach people like, hey, learn from my mistakes, but sometimes they don't want to listen, and they need to experience it for themselves. And that's a really hard thing to do sometimes, is sit back and let them kind of watch them make that same mistake that you're like, oh, I could have avoided it. I could have helped you avoid that if you would have just heard me a little bit.
It really is. And that is one of those things that, man, I invite our listeners to open your minds in those things, because at one time I was closed-minded to many things and like, oh, let me tell you why that won't work. When someone would try to give me advice, well, that doesn't work here in Marietta. Our kids they tie their shoes differently in Marietta than they do here. But that is a thing. So many things can be avoided because someone else has already made that mistake. We talk about that in our license program and some of our gyms, and the gyms are in different areas, different demographics, different things like that. But, those kids learn a back handspring the same way the kids in Florida learn a back handspring the same way the kids in Wisconsin learn. So,
there are definitely, we've learned, Premier's had gyms all over the country as well. And I feel like we've learned over the years, there are different little nuances in different pockets of the country for sure. But like you said, the general day-to-day, the general experiences, it's the same. The mistakes are the same.
Our score sheet does not have a demographic.
Correct.
Right?
The lessons are learned. The lessons are learned. The hard lessons are learned. The mistakes are made. They're all the same, for the most part. And there's lots of value. I think the biggest thing, Shawn and I were having this conversation just yesterday, just kind of in general about like, it's okay to not, I think it's hard for people to acknowledge, and I feel like I was this way too at one point in my career, but you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert at everything. You have to just know what you don't know. You have to be able to acknowledge what you don't know, accept what you don't know, and go get help for that and be like, okay, I want to be great, and I'm not great right now because I don't know this area of my business or this area of the sport or how to coach this thing. So I need to get assistance. I need to find someone who does, and I either need to get them to teach me and train me, or I need to bring them into my staff. And I think that's the biggest thing where people fail, is just not acknowledging, like, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to know what you don't know and be willing to admit that.
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
I say this all the time, but best advice I got, my accountant early on, before I'd even opened the business, this lady I was working with made me go and meet with an accountant. And, I was like, I want your wisdom. Give me your advice. And her two pieces of advice were: buy as much insurance as they'll sell you, and hire people to do the things that you are not good at or that you don't know how to do. And then we went on to discuss that a little bit more in depth. And I'm like, listen, I'm just getting started. I can't afford to hire an office manager. And she immediately snapped back and she was like, you can't not afford to hire an office manager. Like, and that was a thing, because I talk about that all the time. In the early days of cheerleading, that's what separated us from everyone else in town. Not because we were winning, because we weren't. We weren't winning at all. But there was somebody there that could answer the phone, take some money, and schedule a class. And no one else in town did that, And it wasn't because they were lazy, just the gym owners, walked in the gym at 3:00. They were there till midnight. They had the back then you didn't have cell phones. It was the portable phone with the antenna on their, their hip, and trying to flip some kids and schedule a class and take some money, and you couldn't do it. And that was, like I said, that was the thing that set us apart early on, because we were getting our butt kicked competitively.
I remember that was.
Yeah,
go ahead, Shawn.
Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, I remember back in the day with Premier starting out early on, that was one of the biggest things, like Boog, just kind of ingrained in, if you don't want to pay somebody to sit at the front desk, during the day and in the evening, then you need to sit your butt at the front desk during the day and in the evening, but somebody needs to be there to answer the phones. And obviously that's a little different now, with technology and whatever, but I mean, not that we shouldn't have people at the desk, don't misunderstand me, but you can transfer calls to your cell phone. There's a million different ways to still be, active. I don't know how many gyms even have people like stop in. We used to have people just stop in like
all the time.
So if you weren't there, you would miss. I don't know that still happens now today as often as it did back then. But anyway, that was one of the things I feel like they drove home. Like, you need to be at the gym. A body needs to be at the gym to answer calls, be there to open the door, talk to customers, whatever. By noon at the latest. I mean, ideally he was like 9-10 o'clock in the morning. And if you did, if you don't have the money
to collect a check, if somebody wasn't there to take the check, you weren't getting paid. Auto bill.
Oh my gosh. I can't even remember those days.
We could all go through the stories on that. I remember, when I started at World Cup back in 99, and they had just moved into their very first gym. They had rented space in the gymnastic space for a long time. They just moved into their building. And, the build out was high. To get a spring floor was expensive. To get a tumble track was expensive. So we shared a wall in this giant warehouse with AT&T, but it was AT&T's like home and business service. So the parking lot on one side was filled with, the vans and the trucks with the boom lifts. And, then we had the other side. But I remember they had this metal desk that they had gotten from some school that was getting rid of like a school office desk. And there was a 200-foot long phone cord because the phone jack was all the way on this far wall, but the office was all the way over there. So this 200-foot long phone jack that ran across the whole gym into one plugged in phone. But you better believe Miss Debbie was sitting there every morning. That was one of their first hires. Debbie sat there every day. It was like morning, noon, and night. You walked in, you saw Miss Deb sitting at the desk. But yeah, it was. That's how you had to operate your business. You had to be present. And it's still, I believe, that way to some extent. You've got to be present to really make the impact with your customer, and because things are just getting harder. You look at how many people, like Casey, for perfect example, you have people that drive from all over the place in Georgia, from other states to be a part of Stingrays, especially in Marietta. Like, look at what gas prices are right now. These people are going, I don't know if we can afford this based on what we have to just spend in fuel to get to and from practice 3 days a week.
I just bought a Tesla. You're exactly right. I saw my buddy. He likes to make these Facebook things, but he lives in Seattle. This guy I graduated with. He's got a nice car. And in that car, he's got to put premium. But the gas price in Seattle, this was yesterday that he posted this on his Facebook, $7.13 a gallon.
Oh, wow. That's brutal. That's brutal.
Did you get a Tesla?
I did. So it's funny. I, on a whim.
And it drove him around the other day.
Yeah. On a whim. I was
terrifying.
Because my wife loves a big car. Because we have 5 kids. So we have always had some version, whatever I could get the best deal on, the Suburban, the Yukon XL, or the Cadillac Escalade, which crazy. Sometimes you could buy an Escalade cheaper, whatever's the cheapest one. We got it. And we wear it out and get another one. So she still loves that car to sit up high and all that. But the kids are gone. We have one 12-year-old. He doesn't want to ride with her. So she's driving this big car around. So let's get you a Tesla, like just to run. Because she drives, I think last year, 27,000 miles. And it's all right here around town. And I was like, it makes perfect sense for you. And let's just go check one out. Dude, I love that thing. It is.
What does she think? What does Heather think compared to what she said? Because we have similar conversations in this household. And I'm looking over to my right at the moment. We have 4 8-cylinder vehicles in this household. 4.
Well, that is us. Like we're typically like, let's go buy the least, the thing that gets the worst gas mileage and just drive it around town. I mean, I've got a Raptor. Heather's got a big Yukon. So, on a good day, those things get like 13 miles a gallon. So anyway,
we're like at Costco only trying to get, filling up gas because of the cars. I've got an old Cadillac, a 2001 Cadillac. I got a 2025 Dodge Ram. We got a Suburban, and we got an F-150.
Man,
we're just like, we've got all these cars at $100 to fill them up at a minimum.
It was, we've had it about a month. I love it. It's, my buddy described it. He's like, it's an excellent people mover, is what he said. Because you get it and you're like, oh my gosh, this car's super nice, or it's packed full of tech. It's really not. It's a golf cart with some seats in it that has a computer. Like, it drives like a golf cart. You don't even use the brakes. When you let off the gas, it stops itself. So you never even use the brake. That takes you about 2 minutes to get used to. It's no big deal. The self-driving is, I will tell you, people are like, doesn't that make you nervous? And I was like, not nearly as nervous as when I'm on my cell phone and texting someone at the same time that I'm replying.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying to me.
You also have multiple kids that you have to teach how to drive, right? So at this point, you've got what, 3 or 4 that have a driver's license at this point?
Who did teach the kids how to drive, Casey? Was it you or was it Heather? Who did the teaching? Let's get down to
that's scarier than a self-driving Tesla, though.
The oldest kids, I did. So Emily, I was really honed in there, and I actually, with Emily, I studied how they taught the Secret Service to drive. And one of the things they would do is
how does one study with the Secret Service? How they learn to drive? YouTube, where does one even find that knowledge?
YouTube, the internet, and one of the things I picked up on was like, they do a lot of time. Like I loved the, I think it's called a J-turn, where they're hauling butt backwards and then they spin the big SUV around and drive off the other way. And anyway, that's how I went down that path. So I want to learn how to do that in a car. So then that was a Secret Service thing. If they've got to back out of somewhere and turn around and go quick. So anyway, the Secret Service spends a lot of time training, driving backwards. And one of the statements was like, if you can drive backwards, then driving forward is easy. So like Emily spent hours in parking lots driving backwards. During our training. And I spent a lot of time with Emily and Parker training and driving with them. I was also the guy that I had them driving around the neighborhood at 13. I was driving when I was 10 because my grandfather had a farm. So
did they go to their driving test? Like, okay, I'm ready. Let's drive backwards.
Funny, so Emily about got us killed going to her driving test. So I will never forget. I literally thought we were going to die because she was driving to our driver's test and we were merging onto the interstate. And I had already bought her this Jeep because I wanted it. And we had already modified it, put some big tires on it and all that stuff. And that thing was as slow as could be. And we were merging onto 75 coming off of Barrett Parkway or something like that. And I'm like, I don't think you should go. And she's kind of, do I go? Do I not go? And then she's like, well, I'm just going to go. Pulls out in front. There's 18-wheeler going 85 miles an hour. And she merges right in front of them. And like, that guy's got to lock it down to keep from running all into the back of us in this Jeep. And it's just like, geez. As we're on the way to get her driver's. So.
I actually fell asleep on the way home from getting my driver's license. So we had to take my driver's test in Cherry Hill, which is about 45 minutes from where I lived in New Jersey. And my mom wanted me to go before school so that I wouldn't miss too much school. So I think my school started at 7:45 a.m., which was in Newfield, which was like 30 minutes in the other direction. Like I lived far away from my school anyway. So I think I got up at 5:30 in the morning. I took my driver's test at like 6:30 a.m. and we're driving home to drop my dad off so that I can then go to school. And we were on the way home and we were like stopped at a red light, and I'll never forget. I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday, and my dad whacks me in the arm. He's like, "Are you asleep, girl?" And I was sleeping. Luckily we were stopped at a red light, but I had totally like fallen asleep at the red light, had my license for maybe 10 minutes.
Classic small town Georgia story. So getting my driver's license, my birthday's in late August 18th. And back then, school didn't start until after Labor Day. Well, I was so ready to get my license, and my parents had booked a vacation. They were going to St. Simon's for the week, and they were leaving like 2 days before my birthday. And I'm like, what do you mean we're going? Like, I can't get my driver's license. So we talked about it a little bit, and my parents went ahead and went to St. Simon's. I drove myself down to the DMV illegally, took my driver's test, got my driver's license, and drove 300 miles to St. Simon's to meet them. So that was, my dad was like, yeah, just go in, tell them I dropped you off or something. They didn't even ask. I went in, I'm like, hey, I'm here to take my driver's test. And I went in and I did the written form, and you actually had to write it back then. And, took my eye test, and they were like, all right, go wait in your car. The instructor will be out, and, you got to drive around the block or whatever. And I went out and sat in my car, and they came out and did it and got my driver's license and drove to St. Simon's. So
that is funny. Now they know, though. You've just told the world that.
I'm not, and maybe I get my license revoked. So
oh my goodness.
I just have to let the Tesla drive me. So anyway, Shawn, we can talk more about that Tesla. I'm sold.
All right. That's good to know.
On that note, I think maybe it's time for a dad joke. Casey, what do you think?
Let's do it. My favorite time of the day. Oh. Looks like somebody submitted. We got CJ in Tennessee. Wait, he submitted 4 dad jokes?
He did submit 4 dad jokes. He was very excited
CJ
about his
really love a
dad jokes.
Right,
he does.
Well, here's number 1. We're only going to do one today. From CJ, dad joke number 1. Which days are the strongest? Which days are the strongest? Saturday and Sunday. The rest are weekdays. Boom. Love it, CJ. Can't wait to hear number 2, 3, and 4. So keep those dad jokes coming. Send them to us. You got a favorite dad joke? You can hit us up on our new website at themotusedge.com, or you can DM us on social media at Join Modus. And with that, we're going to take a minute and tell you guys a little bit about CX Brands.
Get ready for an event experience that's all about you. CX Brands brings the energy with 4 unique competitions: the Cheer Expo, Cheer X, Excite, and Excel. 16 events across the country, each designed to deliver excellence from start to finish. When you think cheer events, think CX Brands. Find your event now at thecxbrands.com. That's THECXBRANDS.com. Experience excellence. Experience CX Brands.
All right. Time for some rapid fire, as Stacy has named it. And Casey usually messes it up and makes it not rapid. So we'll see how that goes today. Anyway, ready for some rapid fire, Shawn?
Yep. Bring it on.
Do you prefer online shopping or in-store shopping?
Ooh, in-store shopping.
You're in-store?
I am.
Oh. How about you, Stace? Oh, looks like Stacy's on.
I had a feeling that you were going to say in-store shopping when I was when I was putting this together. I don't know, Casey. You know, I do a lot of both. Like, I think it depends on the day, the mood that I'm in. You know, sometimes I prefer online shopping because I feel like I can see a lot more things, or I can get very specific and go right to it. And I don't have to go to 10 stores to find what I'm very much specifically looking for. So I've kind of gravitated more towards online shopping, but there's still, you know, like I enjoy taking my kids shopping, you know, and that was something that I did with my mom. You know, it's kind of like you need to go get school clothes, or you need to go get, you know, new shoes or cleats for my son or whatever. Like I enjoy, you know, doing that. So I'm kind of both, I guess, but I definitely gravitated more towards online shopping, I feel like.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I probably do more online shopping because of the ease and convenience of it. I feel like we have multiple Amazon packages arriving here, you know, daily. But, you know, when it comes to your Home Depot, your Lowe's, your Dick's Sporting Goods, you know, I don't love walking around a shopping mall anymore. Like, you know, but back in the day when I was coaching and your day didn't start till 3, sometimes you just needed to kill some time. You know, and you had a cash full, you know, a pocket full of cash from teaching some private lessons or some school camp.
Spend it, man.
I need some new Nikes, you know?
Let's go buy 3 pairs of Nikes. Yeah, I get it.
So, you know, I still like going to a Home Depot. I still love going to Lowe's, like going to Dick's, you know, and if I'm going to buy stuff, you know, like that for the house, I prefer to go to the store and pick it up.
I've gotten really into the TikTok shop for stupid, dumb, cheap things. Like, I don't know, for some reason I got into these knives, these little knives, and I ordered one and I thought it was the coolest thing. So I ordered 10 more to give to my friends, and everybody loves these little knives I give, like become the knife guy. Because
everything I've ordered off the TikTok shop, I feel like is trash. So I stopped doing it.
Oh, that's like Temu. I went down the Temu rabbit hole. They keep making you spin the wheel. Next thing you know, I end up with a vegetable chopper, a bunch of random crap you didn't need, you know. But I'm like, I got 14 things coming from Temu. It cost me $3.
Yeah, I order a lot of silly stuff. Like I bought this flashlight on TikTok, and actually I've had a good experience. But you know, this flashlight will start a fire. It's so powerful. So.
Wow.
And
that's crazy.
I didn't need it, but it'll start a fire. So I got it.
So
whole nother story here. Not good for me to start fires. Like we've had 2 in the backyard.
No, it is not. I was thinking you do not need any assistance with the fire starting.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I need to start my own TikTok shop. I could probably hawk a couple flashlights and some knives here, right here on the podcast.
I think I want a fire starting flashlight. I don't know.
Moving on in our not so rapid fire questions. East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast all day. I'm a Jersey boy. I'm an East Coast guy.
Down by the shore.
That's right.
All right. Do you prefer Halloween or Valentine's Day?
Halloween.
Same, man. We don't even recognize Valentine's Day around these parts. So.
Halloween is such a big festival here in my neighborhood. It's become huge. Didn't used to be for me, but now it is.
Yeah, Ashley and I won the local Halloween contest this year at the bar down the street, like our neighborhood bar. We were in the contest and we won. So
Can you tell us what you were?
Colonel Sanders and Chicken Little over here.
I did see that. I remember that. I saw that.
We had a blast. I mean, we haven't had that much fun in a long time. Just being out, you know, you're in costume. You kind of take on a different personality. And we had a great time. And then obviously with the 2 little kids, just going around and trick-or-treating and watching them get the excitement of being dressed up and seeing their friends dressed up and going and asking for candies. That was great as well. So,
yep.
It's funny.
All right. If you had a time machine, would you pick your past mistakes? Would you fix your past mistakes, or would you see your future?
Ooh, golly, that is a tough one. I don't want to fix my past mistakes. I think that we learn from them, like we were talking about before, right? So every one of them is a lesson. But gosh, seeing the future scares me a little bit. You know, there's certain things I just don't want to know. You know, there are a lot of people I've talked to over time. They're like, you know, I would love to know when I'm going to die. Where I was like, I couldn't live that way, knowing when, you know, or if I was to get sick or somebody in my family got sick or whatever. So, can I opt for neither of those?
It's funny you're saying that, because that's exactly what's going through my head. I was like, I just probably not use the machine, like, you know.
Yeah. If I had to pick, I would probably go back And I'm sure there's a couple of mistakes that I would happily fix that, maybe didn't shape who I am, so to speak. So if I had a little bit more time to think about it, I'd go back. But going forward scares me.
I don't think I'd want to see the future either, because then, then you're, I don't know, like, I believe that the future is, there could be a future that you see, but I feel like you still have that time to live and you can change your future.
Like, change it. Yeah.
And so I think it would be weird. I don't know. So I agree with that.
Yeah. It would mess me way too much.
But have either of you guys seen or read the book Dark Matter?
I've not.
So there's a show, I think it's on Apple TV now, called Dark Matter. And it's about a guy that he was a scientist, and he invented this box that you could go into this box and basically travel back in time, but it ends up splitting off into all different versions, which there is always that discussion, right? That like, you're not just traveling back in time, you're like creating a whole nother like timeline essentially. Yeah. And so, he goes back in time. The scientist that created the box goes back in time to a version of himself that didn't create the box, where he has a wife and a family and whatever, and tries to steal that version of himself's life. Anyway, it's a very interesting show. It's called Dark Matter.
Did you see the movie or the series about the assassination of JFK? It's a date.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. And it was so good. My husband, Chris, and I just watched that recently. Fantastic. And it was from 2016 or something. I'm like, how is this 10 years old and we've missed it and haven't seen it? It was great.
Netflix or?
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, and it's a date. So it's whatever the date is, December, whatever, 1960. That's like what the 12/3/1962, something like that is what, I'm not 100% sure, but it's the day of JFK's assassination is the title of the show. And it's fantastic. It's about going back in time, and they try to go back and stop Lee Harvey Oswald from assassinating JFK. And then it turns out that all these things would change, and how life kind of moved forward differently.
It was actually bad. Because they do it. Well, I guess I shouldn't give it away in case somebody wants to watch it, right?
And the acting was great in it as well. I thought
it was fantastic.
All right, I'm gonna check it out.
Worth the watch. Yeah.
All right, last one.
I would go back. Go ahead.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Wow.
That's a hard one on the spot.
That is a hard one on the spot.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Yeah. No, that's positive. I think it's probably to just stay humble and don't forget where you came from type of mentality. I don't know if there's an exact, quote, but I love that Tim McGraw song about staying humble and kind. And he wrote that for his daughter as she was going off to college, to remember, to just be a good person, do the small details that make a difference in somebody else's life, like holding the door for them and opening a door for somebody, et cetera. And really never forgetting, no matter what, where you came from. And you guys know, I reference World Cup constantly, and, it is where I came from. It's kind of who built me in this industry. And I've been very fortunate to have great jobs since then. And Elaine used to say roots and wings all the time. That was her saying, when kids were graduating, going on to college, or a coach was leaving and moving on to, whether it was a professional career or a different place. And she would always kind of say roots and wings. Just kind of that same thing. Staying humble, not forgetting where you came from is probably the best advice.
Love it. All right, Stace, looks like you got a question from a listener.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so we have a question from a listener today. How do you know when your business model has stopped evolving and started surviving on habit?
Ooh.
Any advice for that listener, Shawn?
I do. You've got to find ways to continue a growth mindset. You've got to find ways to continue to evolve, and sometimes it's by diversifying, and sometimes it's just by upping some trainings and things. But you got to look at your business. And I don't mean your financials, that everything should be going in an upward angle, but you feel it inside of your gyms when you have years where the energy, the aura, the space, your coaches, burnout, everything just kind of goes flat. But the longer you plateau, I've never seen a plateau go to an instant incline. It's usually plateau to cliff and fall off, right? So it's my challenge is to any gym owner or any business owner is to keep your eyes open, stay self-aware, like we talked about before, and having that self-awareness to see that your business is constantly on the incline. Try to be creative, try to be innovative, always coming up with something that's going to challenge yourself, challenge your people, whether that's your athletes, your coaches, your parents, to stay on somewhat of a rise and an incline, because the longer you plateau, it's going to end with a drop off, in a cliff. So we want to keep finding ways to rise.
Call that resting on your laurels. You can't do it, and to quote the great Roger Shonder, he talks about, we would always use this at Stingrays of looking 2 years ahead. And he used the University of Kentucky as an example. Back in, they were super strong. They'd come out and they'd do double QPs, and then the next year, 4 more teams would do double QPs, and they would be behind because the next year Kentucky was doing double hill stretches. They're always looking ahead and always advancing. Point being, what got it done this year is not going to get it done next year. And that's the same thing in principles in business. You got a good year, and hey, this is our strongest year ever, and this is the best. We don't need to change anything. Wrong. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you constantly need to be tweaking and pushing yourself to make things better. So
that's right. Small increases, and that could be something as small as, like Stacy and I used to talk about all the time, and it's funny. Randy just posted about it on ASJ a couple of weeks ago. A lobby upgrade. The simple fact of keeping your lobby clean with a fresh coat of paint, some furniture that doesn't look like, you got it used somewhere and it's just beat to hell. And, that's that first thing that person sees when they walk in. That new customer walks in and goes, wow, what a beautiful space this is. We know the gym is going to be covered in chalk and smell like feet and dirty socks. And we know that's, we're going to do the best we can inside of there. Right. But we can control so much more and just freshening up your lobby space, burn a candle, do something that makes somebody walk in and go, wow, scent marketing is a great thing. I laugh about it all the time. You walk into an Abercrombie, or you're walking in the mall, in our mall shopping, right? In our in-person shopping, you could smell Abercrombie from halfway across the mall. It's coming up. And same thing with Yankee Candle.
So true.
You can smell it halfway across the mall.
Shawn,
you walk into a Marriott, it's a Marriott. You walk into a Westin, it's a Westin, right? So
Heather Jones isn't listening right now, but if she was, she'd probably be chewing your butt on. She doesn't like the fake scents and all that stuff because they're so bad for you. So we anytime we go to a hotel and it's like, you walk in and you smell it, they're putting something out in the air, and she gets so mad.
Yeah, they're running through the HVAC for sure,
Right.
But yeah, just keeping it fresh, just freshen up everything, keeping your staff wearing a staff shirt, making them look branded, the little things that just keep your business slightly elevated so that you constantly stay on that incline, because your first impression of a new customer walking in the door is all that matters.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. I got a community win to share. After listening to episode 68 with Jay Yoder, who was hilarious, by the way, talking about grit, perseverance, and how growth happens in the hard moments, it completely shifted how we approached our season as coaches and parents. We had athletes struggling with skills and honestly starting to lose confidence. Instead of constantly focusing on the next competition or the next score sheet, we started celebrating the progress again. The small wins, the consistency, the effort, the energy in our gym shifted. That episode reminded us that the lessons our athletes learn from fighting through hard things will last a whole lot longer than any banner hanging on the wall. And once again, that's from a MotUS Edge listener and cheer gym coach. So thank you guys for sharing that with us.
So true.
I agree.
All right. Also, I'd like to let you guys know we will be hosting our podcast live from the MotUS Business Expo, getting some fresh insights from our event producers, affiliates, and gym owners. So mark your calendar, September 30th, for epic live podcasts coming your way. I did those last year. Those were really fun. I was actually nervous about doing them live, but actually done it a couple times live now, and those have been really fun. We did it at one of our competitions as well. So looking forward to that at our Business Expo. And those of you that are gym owners, and I do believe that this is one of the best conferences that you can go to. You don't have to. There's no competing classes. We do everything all together, and you don't have to choose between, hey, am I going to go over here to this basket toss class, or am I going to go over here and learn a little bit about business? So we have the experts come in and teach business principles pretty much the entire time with a little bit of fun mixed in there.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We've got a pretty good lineup of, we got an awesome lineup of speakers this year. I can't wait. Actually, I'm very much looking forward to the conference. Not that it was great. It's great every year, but I feel like we got a really strong lineup of classes and speakers.
Yeah, some different stuff this year. So.
All right. Well, we have a review to read. I started listening to the MotUS Edge podcast because of my daughter's involvement in All-Star Cheer, but I stayed because of the perspective it gave me as a parent. The episodes have helped me better understand the pressure coaches and gym owners carry, and it made me more thoughtful about how I support our program. It's honest, relatable, and honestly just refreshing to hear a conversation that feels real. That's from Stephanie M. She's an all-star parent in Virginia, which I think is kind of cool to hear, from a parent and getting a parent's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Stephanie. That's really good stuff. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shawn, for hopping on today. It was really awesome to have you be a part of our podcast. We're super excited to have you back as a part of MotUS. We get to talk every day now. It's kind of fun.
Absolutely, man. Welcome to the team.
Very excited. Thank you, guys.
Be sure to be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the MotUS Edge. Check out our video shorts, like and comment. We love to hear from you. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS, and follow us on YouTube and TikTok at the MotUS Edge. Follow our show wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, leave us a comment and tell all of your friends. And hey, if you're a gym owner, join the movement today. Make sure you reach out to Shawn. He'll get you signed up and tell you all about it. And sign up for MotUS. Thank you so much for listening, and we're excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmodus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.